What's up guys? Today I'm going to show you how to do the sumo deadlift utilizing hook grip. This is a topic I get asked a lot of questions about, how I set my hook grip to deadlift and how you should be able to set it to where you don't have the problem of your hands tearing or the bar rolling, especially when you get towards maximum loads. So I'm going to take you through how to set up the pull sumo, and on top of that, how to set your hook grip successfully. When setting up the pull sumo, here's a few things that I look for my athletes or even for myself. So if you have a Texas deadlift bar, the knurling and the rings on the bar will be a little bit different than on a kabuki deadlift bar. So just keep that in mind. So with the Texas deadlift bar, the rings will be a little bit closer than on the kabuki deadlift bar. So for example, when I set up the pull, I usually align my shins almost at a 90-degree angle. That's just what I do personally. Some guys or females even have the ability to go out wider and are still in a really good leverage point to be able to pull sumo. Some people that go too wide, you start to lose your leverages and you really don't have the optimal leg drive off the floor to finish the lift. And then when you get towards the top, you start to lose balance. So having my feet in this placement here, my shin angle where it's at, it allows me to still have more surface area versus if my feet were all the way out here wide. That's too wide. You can see I'm starting to lose my balance. So bringing your feet in here where I was demonstrating is more optimal, just for the fact that I can put my feet on the floor more. I really think about anchoring my big toe down towards the floor. And what that does, it just puts me in a position to have more force output through the floor throughout the whole movement and have better balance. Now from this position, what I try to do is keep my pelvis in a more neutral position versus just letting everything drift away from me, which is getting my hips further away from the bar. So what I'll do is just pull my pelvis under me. Then from here, I go down to grab the bar and set up and get into position. So what I'll do from here, even position overall and relative to the bar, then I'll go down here to set my hook grip. Now when I go to set my hook grip, I don't do both hands at the same time. I do one hand at a time and really create that tension and pull that slack out slightly, starting with one hand, and I go to the other. So let's say I start with my left hand when I go to pull the slack out of the bar. So when you set your hook grip, this is a common mistake a lot of people make, is they'll smash the bar too deep into the palm of their hand. So let's say my finger is the bar, right? They're setting the bar here and then they're grabbing it and they're setting the hook grip. No matter how strong you are, when you're getting towards maximum loads, that bar is going to slide and move because they'll want to spin. So that's why you see guys with amazing grip strength, they'll still drop the bar. So what you want to do when you set hook grip is still set it relative to that area, but also set it down more towards your fingers. So when you pull slack out of the bar is sitting here, you can really grab your thumb, then create external rotation and lock your grip in. A lot of guys will have that same issue too, where they don't create any external rotation. So the last few fingers on their hook grip, they start to slip and then they start to drop the bar. So I'll show you how I set my hook grip. So with my left hand, I'll grab the bar here. So I don't want to grab onto the smooth of the bar. I'll start grabbing onto the knurling. So I'll go here and then I'll slightly rotate into where I can take my thumb and come across the bar horizontally. So I'm not coming straight across, I'm coming across at an angle, and then I'm setting one finger at a time. So my pointer finger, then my middle finger, and then from there I set the rest of my fingers onto the bar. Then from there, I can slightly start creating external rotation, pulling the slack out. Then I do the same thing in my right hand. Come across horizontally, one finger at a time. From here, now I'm set to pull. Now from this position, I'll start to create more tension between me and the bar, wedge my hips closer to the bar, create external rotation, which will pull my chest up and it'll pull my shoulders back a little bit. So also another thing to think in this position is let your shoulders slightly retract back, which will put your chest in a better position. So don't think about fully retracting like your scapula or anything, but just packing your shoulders back enough to where your chest is up and then you can deadlift. So another point when I'm in that position, a couple of things I also think about before I go to deadlift is just really finding that tension. So you don't want to start with your hips too low. A lot of people start with their hips way too low. Then you start their pull and the first thing that happens is they shoot back into their natural position, the deadlift. So if you have to find where your hips should be, there's a couple of things you could do. One is do one rep, then go back down to the second rep. Usually where your second rep's at is where your hips are going to be more comfortable at when you go to pull. So you see a lot of guys in training or girls, their first rep looks awful, then their second rep looks way better. That's just because their starting point is better in their second rep than in their first. But in a competition, you get one rep. So you want to make sure that one rep is like money and it's where it should be. So back to what I was saying when it comes to setting your hook grip, this is one thing I want to compare is the pulling mixed grip. A lot of people will pull mixed grip and they'll set one of their legs back further than the other a little bit so they don't helicopter as much. But also too, you're not in the best position or proper alignment, or I would say more optimal alignment to deadlift the best way possible in comparison to hook grip. So when you pull hook grip, you're more symmetrical, you're in a position to wedge closer and harder to the bar with your hips, so you're gonna be able to lift more. For example, I'll show you how I pull mixed grip, and then I'll show you how to pull hook grip. So same setup here for the most part, but when you pull mixed grip, the hand that goes under, you usually want to move this leg back a little bit just so you don't drag as much and helicopter. So I'll take this right leg, move it back just a smidge. Then I'll go down, grab this bar here. There's no hook grip here. With mixed grip, you just grab the bar as normal. Then you take this hand, you supinate it, grab the bar here. Same thing, wedge close to the bar, and then finish your deadlift. I'm gonna show you how I set the hook grip again one more time. Proper shin angle, make sure you're aligned in the same position you were in the first rep. Make sure every rep's the same. Going down, setting one hand at a time. We'll start with the right hand this time instead of the left. Making sure you're not setting the bar too deep. So instead of smashing the bar in here, you come here, start to pull the slack out. When you start to pull the slack out, the bar will start to come towards the upper part of the hand, and then you'll be closer to your fingers. So the bar just hanging here. It's like a hook, it's just hanging. It's not smashed within your thumb crease to where you start to tear your hand. And then from there, I'm starting to create that external rotation, as you can see, through my elbow all the way up into my shoulder. And then I create more tension through my lat. So now I'm really locked in. Those last few fingers will not go anywhere. So here I'm tight. I'm coming over here. I'm creating tension still through my right arm, setting hook grip the same way, creating an external rotation. Now I'm locked in. I pull the slack out of the bar. I wedge my hips close. Boom. Then I can deadlift. All right, so we just covered everything to have a successful sumo deadlift utilizing the hook grip. Some of the things that are really important when trying to utilize the hook grip and a sumo deadlift in your training or in competition prep are a few things. I'll do a little recap and cover the key points. The first thing that you should really think about is your foot positioning. It all starts with your positioning with your feet. For example, look at the lines on the bar. So you're using a deadlift bar, make sure you're lining up accordingly every single set. So you want that 90-degree shin angle. You want to make sure both your feet are anchored in position, driving that big toe down through the floor. The next key point is wedging your hips closer to the bar. So you want to make sure you're pulling your hips closer to the bar, creating that lateral knee travel, putting you in the best position to have a very strong deadlift. And then lastly is making sure your chest is in a good position. So make sure you're creating that upper back tightness. Make sure you're packing your lats, and make sure you're creating that external rotation through your hands all the way up into your elbow, into the shoulder, and making sure you're staying in position throughout the entire lift. So those are the key points to utilize in a sumo deadlift. I'm looking forward to seeing some great lifts.